WWE are planning a SummerSlam dream match. Plus, scrapped Raw plans have been revealed following the travel day from hell, and an injured ex-WWE champion is returning soon. It's all in the wrestling news right now. When you think of dream SummerSlam opponents for Brock Lesnar, Ross, there's one that comes to mind, right?
Almost. It's not as Gunter, everybody. And from WRKD Wrestling, we have a huge scope as to why this thing might become a reality.
Well, Gunter has publicly stated during interviews that he'd like a match with Brock Lesnar. He told me at Clash of the Castle. The idea has been floated backstage to potentially have him face off sometime this summer. Now, obviously, SummerSlam isn't mentioned there, but if you're going to put on Lesnar versus Gunter sometime in the summer, SummerSlam is the place that you do that.
Yes, it is.
The clue's in the name. SummerSlam. Now, obviously, Brock Lesnar currently tied up with Cody Rhodes going into WrestleMania Backlash in that kinky way. And obviously, Gunter continues his record-smashing reign as Intercontinental Champion, but there's no reason why Rhodes can't twist and turn and weave and before we get to SummerSlam and we find these two at a crossroads, an impasse against one another.
Oh, yeah. You would assume that Brock Lesnar's going to spaff in the eye of Cody Rhodes and knock him down a bit further before we start building him back up. That's what logic would say, but then logic would say Cody winning at WrestleMania. We're still not over it, are we, everybody? But we don't. Yeah, it's a thing that needs to happen. They both want it. Let's get it on.
Let's do it. I mean, if you're not going to give us Brock Lesnar versus Gunter, then do the right thing, WWE, because it has been just over 2 decades since Brock Lesnar F5'd this shark. And I think that a rematch is long overdue. Do that again, you cowards.
Is that shark still alive? If you know the whereabouts of that shark, please let us know at cultaholic.com.
I'm hoping the ocean. I'll ask Barry.
It's just roaming around Florida. That's where he lives. He's just going for a pint every Friday. Lovely.
Tapping his mouth going, I remember when I faced Brock Lesnar, boy.
You're not going to believe this, but I took him to a 45-minute burner. I don't know what I'm doing. Burner.
Hey, let's talk about Raw on Monday night. A lot of fun to be had there. A lot of last-minute rewrites as a result of the travel day from hell, according to PW Insider. Dave Meltzer's given a little more insight as to what we could have seen.
Yeah, well, the thing came because of a delayed flight from Orlando to Seattle. That was the major part of the travel woes, he's put it, that forced the show to be rewritten several times. Those who were on that flight eventually made it to the show during the third hour, but due to the nature of the tour and schedule, they would have found themselves going straight back to the airport for a red-eye flight. That is rough. That's a cultaholic punishment from 2018, that is. Adam Puccini off to Amsterdam. Oh, you got to come straight back, you arsehole.
That was awful. That was flipping awful. So some of the matches that we know as Meltzer goes into, Miz and Matt Riddle went to go one-on-one, scrapped due to travel delays. Kevin Owens competed on his own against Solo Sikoa, but we saw Sami Zayn and Matt Riddle do a run-in, and I think the nature of that run-in...
It was a shoot.
It felt like... I think it was a shoot, because they arrived sort of... I think everybody who was meant to be on the show arrived during the third hour, by which point, well, look, everything's in place, there's not much we can do, but we can have Riddle and Sami Zayn at least do a sprint in as opposed to
Riddle's
a run-in.
We'll be there in 5 minutes, bro. Get the cameras ready. Just perfectly timed sprinting through the backstage area.
I'd love to think that was the case. I really, really would. Bianca Belair, this is interesting, was scheduled on Raw, according to sources, to face Io Sky. This was the Raw where Io Sky beat Michin and Piper Niven to become the number one contender.
Correct.
And then obviously there's some question marks about the relationship with Bayley and Kai and Sky. And that would lead me to think that maybe on Raw they'd have had Sky beat Belair in a non-title match.
To set up a title match, because that's how things work in the WWE. A bit of adversity for Bianca Belair, you might suggest.
And that would have really added to Bayley's character going, I've not been able to beat Bianca Belair and you've beat her first try.
Yeah.
Like, that
I'm
would have been
jealous
really
of
good.
you, Io Sky. Hooah! End of Damage Control.
But you know, that's the story they told was the one they had to tell that night. They were kind of, the cards were dealt in a bad way. We were meant to also see Theory and Bobby Lashley having a bit of a back and forth according to Worked Wrestling. We did get a meaty battle with Lashley and Bronson Reed instead.
I was going to say no great loss there, because the big men slapping their meat like they did on Raw was absolutely fantastic. Bronson Reed jumping off the apron or the ropes and just going, And that being a move to Bobby Lashley and knocking him down, that's what I'm here for. That's my kind of Grappletons.
That is a Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff, Tom.
Hasselhoff.
It's a David Hasselhoff.
It's a David Hasselhoff.
T-shirt coming soon, maybe. I don't know.
Please do. I'm sure he won't sue us. It'll be fine. They also reported that Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, the Street Profits, Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, Omos, MVP, and Mustafa Ali all arrived during the third hour of Raw. The majority of which, as Ross has already said, were just sent back to the airport almost immediately. Gutting.
Yeah.
Gutting. What a trip that could have been. So that's how Raw went down. As we said, on yesterday's news, I think considering the hand they were dealt, I thought it was a good episode of Raw.
It felt like a Triple H Raw once again. It didn't feel like a Vince McMahon Raw. The match, especially the women's tag team match, that was given time. Other things were given time on the card as well. It just felt like we're going back to the Triple H days. What am I saying? Back to the Triple H. Back 2 weeks, you know what I mean?
Back to the good old days. This is how fast time moves now. Like, we haven't got any patience anymore. Back to the good old days of 2 weeks ago. We're going to go back in time, way back in wrestling history, for a brand new season of Dark Side of the Ring.
Tuesday, May the 30th on Vice TV. A new 10-episode season will contain, according to the press release, stories like the emotional roller coaster of one of wrestling's most captivating and controversial couples, Chris Candido and Tammy Sunny Sitch, the car accident that derailed the career of future World Heavyweight Champion Magnum TA. That's what I want to see. I've heard about it, but I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, he was genuinely a guy that was set to be the guy until that accident. Like, you watch some Magnum TA stuff on the network, he's brilliant.
Yeah, comparisons to Hangman aren't there? Well, allegedly. I've not really seen it.
Well, I mean, you can see there's traces of what Magnum was about in Hangman Adam Page.
Wrestling's most unhinged monster, Abdullah the Butcher. That'll be hepatitis ridden. I don't know. Focused on the lack of the troubled life of the troubled life of Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels' former tag team partner, and much, much more.
There's a lot. Oh, geez, for the Marty Jannetty one, just jump on his Facebook page. There you go.
Oh man,
that's all the scripting you need to do.
What a lovely page that is.
But I do hope there's half an hour on Marty Jannetty's match with Doink the Clown on Raw in 1993. It was a banger. I, for one, am excited maybe 10, 15 years down the time to see a Dark Side of the Ring episode on Dull Hudson, who got a showcase on NXT last night, but came up short, didn't he?
He didn't go too well. And I've not seen NXT yet, so I can't pass comment whether he's still being rolled to Chase U or whether he's being an arsehole, but he's not the new number one contender for the NXT title, is he, Tom?
Well, he was honoured with the MVP trophy, and in a little sort of been a special bit for Chase U. Bron Breakker came out and said, I was offered a spot in the four-way for the number one contendership. Don't want it. That belt's flipping cursed. I don't want it. So, you know what, Dull, you can have it. So he gives the shot to Dull Hudson, and Bron Breakker, I guess as a payment for it, just spears Andre Chase, and Dull picks up his trophy and legs it out of the ring.
Well, that doesn't sound too promising for the future of Dull Hudson in Chase U.
After that segment, though, I'll tell you what I want to see. Bron Breakker versus Tia Hale.
Oh.
She was ready to go. She was going to batter Bron Breakker.
I think you want to see Bron Breakker versus Andre Chase, the last guy to properly pin Carmelo Hayes. He out-wrestled him, Tom, in slacks and a woolly jumper. It was fantastic.
Keen to see that. But despite that, Hudson made it to the main event. But it was Grayson Waller who outlasted him, Dragon Lee, and JD McDonough. He is the top contender for the NXT title, and he'll face Carmelo Hayes at Spring Breakin in 2 weeks' time.
Two of the faces of the new NXT, if you want, going on it. Like Braun and Carmelo were. Grace and Carmelo are very much cut from that same cloth. Doing a shoey, I saw on Twitter this morning.
He was doing a
that's
shoey.
all you want to do. I hate the concept of a shoey.
Do you?
Yeah. Have you ever done a shoey?
I think I have, but with a clean shoe, not one I was wearing, which I guess is not the point. You're meant to get some of the foot sweat in there, aren't you? Yeah, perverts. We'll see how that goes down in 2 weeks. This will be, I think, Grayson's third shot at the NXT title. Obviously, I mean, it feels right that he loses, but is there a question mark whether or not they hot shot Carmelo to the main roster and just give Grayson the belt here?
I hope not.
Wild and terrible, but
he
maybe
should have a long reign where the brand's built around him because he's that bloody good. He's an NXT superstar who could have cut it back in the good old days for some people, not these new halcyon times where it's filled with LSD and great times. But he can do either or. He can be a face of this brand or a face of the brand from years ago. That's how good he is. It depends how much the sexy boy himself gets involved. For me, that's what's going to... Because Grayson Waller's sort of been interlocked with Shawn Michaels. We thought we might be getting Grayson Waller versus Shawn Michaels Michaels into Stand and Deliver. That didn't happen. We got other things. Will the sexy boy screw him once again? I don't know.
Well, there's another WWE legend that may be set to get a bit of revenge, Ruwenge, on Grayson Waller, as he's due back from injury anytime soon. We're talking about the 47,000-time WWE 24/7 champion, R-Truth.
It's a wonder he still wants to wrestle after the disappointment John Cena put on at WrestleMania 39. Of course, his childhood hero there for R-Truth. But he shared a gym photo yesterday where a fan asked when he'd be back, and he replied, soon.
Yeah,
like Cristiano Ronaldo.
So it was that dive over the top he did onto Grayson Waller that knackered his quad, and gutted to see him away. He is a phenomenal specimen for somebody of his age. Like, you look at pictures of him doing what he was doing in 2001 and 2002, like, it's like he's been frozen in time.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I kind of hope when we come back, as much as I love, like, silly, funny R-Truth, he's still really good, and I think there's still potential there to get something out of him.
If Carmelo has sort of gone through this organic... This is a weird pitch. Carmelo's gone through this organic babyface turn to just being really good in NXT over a little while. He started off as a heel, now the crowd's on board with him because he is just that good. Have R-Truth come back as like the 2011 like tab-smoking arsehole and have him feud with Carmelo Hayes. Have obviously R-Truth put over Carmelo at one point. It writes itself.
Oh,
I missed
like
that tab smoking arsehole.
That was good, wasn't it? That was a good pitch, that. 9 pitches later on, though. We're going to be chatting about how we get the belt off Roman Reigns. For goodness sake, why are we still talking about that?
Because it's a record breaker.
He's a record breaker.
He's seen Linford Christie and Sue Baker and thought, I want a part of that. Sue Barker, not Sue Baker. Who's Sue Baker? That's a different person. Well, obviously it is a different person.
Didn't she sing Mambo number 5? That's Lou Baker.
That's Lou Baker, yeah.
Oh. Anyway, that'll be on the channel later on today. We're going to cover 9 different ways that Roman Reigns could have that title wrested away from him, and you can join us on the YouTube for that in a bit. And for more wrestling news throughout the day, check out cultaholic.com. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.